over and try to hear the radio, and if God doesn't make the inner ear work, I won't be able to hear. So every time I stand up, I thank God. Thank God that I'm in my right mind, because I'm old enough to be crazy. I know a lot of people my age who are real nuts, but I thank God that I didn't get up this morning and put my shirt on over my legs and my pants on over my arms. I thank God that I didn't comb my teeth and brush my hair with toothpaste. I thank God that I'm in my right mind. I thank God for my bishop and for her giving me the opportunity to preach in this pulpit, because as long as she's called to this work, whether you like it or not, she's in charge. And she gets to say who preaches and who doesn't. So if you're mad at me, because she's the one who put me up. I did not get in line in front of you. Pastor called me and I said yes. I feel a little churchy. I love church. Some people like church, but I love church. The book of Isaiah, chapter number 43. I'm going to be reading the first 7 verses of that chapter. And it's so important to what's going to happen in 2010 that I need you to find it, and I need you to read along with me. It's just that important. Isaiah chapter 43. I've got the King James Version. If you got another version, don't get nervous. Just read along. Let's read that together. Isaiah 43, first 7 verses, and read it like your life depends on it. Don't read it like it's a nursery rhyme. Read it like your life depended on it, because we're taking God. Isaiah 43, 1. Ready? Read. But now thus saith the Lord, that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. For I am the Lord thy God, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for thee. Since thou wast precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore will I give men for thee, and people for thy life. Fear not, I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east, and gather them from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth, even every one that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, yes, I have made him. In the book of Hebrews, you don't have to turn there, but chapter 13, verse 5 says, let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content for such things as ye have. For he has said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. For he has said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. I want to focus this morning, for purposes of a fulcrum for this preaching time. When thou passest through the waters, verse 2 of Isaiah 43, I will be with thee, and through the rivers they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. Now I want you to look at your neighbor with some righteous indignation. And I want you to take that right bony index finger and point it at your neighbor and say, neighbor, whatever you go through this year, God will be with you. Tell the one on the other side, just go ahead and tell them off. The one on the other side. Say, listen, neighbor, whatever you go through this year, God will be with you. Now take your mirror out of your purse and flip it open so you can see yourself if you got one. If you don't have that for men, if you got a mirror, do it, but do it quickly and quietly. But if you're sitting next to a woman, make sure you can look in the mirror and see it, and then point at the person in the mirror, Michael Jackson, and say, whatever you go through in 2010, God will be with you. Take out your cell phone. Take out your iPhone. I know you brought them in church. And get to that place where you can text. And then hit that button that says text all. And text everybody in your cell phone, both your boo and your used to be boo. And tell them whatever, it won't take you but a second to text this, you go through in 2010, God will be with you. Come on, text us, whatever. Because I know y'all text while you're driving, you can text while you're sitting. You go through, in 2010, God will be with you. Now give God a hand praise. I am fascinated by the gospel preaching of Isaiah. I realize that he is an Old Testament character and that he is considered by some to be a so-called major prophet, along with Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel. But God really does not play the major-minor game. If he did, he would prefer minor over major. Because he said the first shall be last and the last shall be first. I thank you. I know that because of where he's situated in the Bible, that we like to lump him in a certain place and say, how dare you call him a gospel writer? But since God doesn't measure things the way we measure things, God doesn't necessarily categorize people like we do. We call them major prophets because they wrote a lot. But you don't have to really do a lot sometimes for God to bless you. In fact, one Old Testament prophet, Enoch, never wrote a word. Yet God esteemed him so highly, he wouldn't even let him die. And Enoch became the first astronaut and walked into heaven. It wasn't Neil Armstrong that first walked in space, it was Enoch. And so be careful, my brothers and my sisters, when you start playing the major in minor game. In fact, credentials don't qualify you for God's service. Humility qualifies you for God's service. And don't let people diminish you and have you thinking you're not important. As a matter of fact, nudge your neighbor and say, I don't care what you think, I'm major to God. Oh yeah, nudge one on the other side. The one that's been in here trying to figure out how much your outfit costs. Tell them, I don't care what you think, trying to figure out if you really got on alligator shoes or if those are snake looking like alligator, and say, I don't care what you think. I am major to God, trying to figure out whether that's your hair or some you. Tell them, I'm major to God. But you said now, Elder Ware, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm not with you so far on this gospel notion of Isaiah, because I do know, Elder Ware, from the 2 times I went to Sunday school, that Isaiah is a composite of the Bible, 39 chapters representing the Old Testament, 27 chapters representing the New Testament, judgment in one part and grace in the other. But how can you call Isaiah a gospel preacher? Because when I talk about gospel preachers, they say, I'm talking about the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Well, let's examine the evidence, my brother-in-law Kenneth, and let's see if Isaiah can measure up to these boys in the New Testament. Can he hold his own with Matthew? Well, Matthew opens his gospel with a description of Jesus' birth and an announcement of the Messiah. He copied off of Isaiah's paper, because Isaiah already told us in chapter 9, verse 6, for unto us a child is born. Unto us son is given. The government shall be on his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. I believe I made a case. Isaiah can hold his own with Matthew. Touch your neighbor, say he's making a case. Can Isaiah hold his own with Brother Mark? Well, Mark opens his gospel talking about Jesus' MC, not young MC, not Run